everybody, welcome to another video. So today we're having a little play with the Sata X5500. This is a spraying video, but before we do some spraying, I just wanted to go into it a little bit. What we're doing is we're using the 5500 1.3 CC clear setup. So hopefully you can see it there, the CC. Now the CC cap varies or differs from the standard cap. Now this is a standard cap, an I cap, RPI cap. The CC is an I cap as well. Trying to focus on my eyes, that's better. Now hopefully you can see that the CC version, this one here, has a larger exit hole on the base of the air horn. So the one at the top is the same, but it's a larger exit hole on the base. So the cap is actually different. But one of the biggest differences I've found, and there is spraying in this video, we will go on and do some spraying so you'll see what they're actually like, is I ordered myself a hole depth, a hole diameter gauge, because Sata have forever been playing with their tip sizes. You know, they say they're a certain size and they're just not. So what I thought we would do is we'd have a little look at the CC version. So the CC version, which is the one here, again it's going to try and focus on my face, that's it. So the CC version is here, and this is the normal I version. Now this is a 1.2. This one here is a 1.2. You can see it written on it, a standard 1.2. And this is the CC version. Now hopefully you can see that the CC version actually has a smaller exit hole than the 1.2 RP. Hopefully you can see that. I can't actually see well enough on the camera to see whether you are seeing that or not, but hopefully you can see that. But I've used the depth gauge and I've got some interesting readings. I made a note of the readings earlier, so I wasn't, you know, fumbling around, because obviously it's quite difficult to see the end. But what it turns out is that a standard 1.2 IRP tip is actually 1.25 millimeter. A 1.3 tip, a standard 1.3, this one is actually HVLP, is 1.35 millimeter. So it is true that Sata actually put a bigger tip in than they're theoretically claiming. But when you look at the CC version, which is this one here, the difference, which I hope you could see on camera, but the difference is quite stark. It's one of the first thing I noticed, that the hole looks a lot smaller, even though they're claiming it's 1.3. And the 1.3 CC actually measures 1.15 millimeter. So it's actually a 1.15, not a 1.3. For whatever reason they measure it like they do, but I think you'll find that a lot of people say this thing is quite slow, and we'll go into that in the video, because these are quite slow, but it's because they're not a 1.3, they're actually a 1.1. With Sata measurements, if all there's a ½ millimeter oversize, it's actually a 1.1. I haven't got a 1.1 because I'd be very interested to try the standard RPI setup with a 1.1. No doubt I will pick one up if I can find one cheap or whatever. I will pick one up eventually, but that's what I think is actually giving it its major difference, rather than just the air cap. But anyway, we'll see in the video, but I just wanted to get that out there, for want of a better word, so that you guys could see that there is actually a physical difference. There's no difference between the air holes. There's still 12 in each cap, and the diameter is about 1.6 millimeters. That's the same on the cap, so that isn't different. So it's just a slight difference with the well, quite a reasonable difference with the air cap and this smaller tip. Although it says 1.3, it is a smaller tip. But let's have a look and see how it performs. So as I've already outlined at the start of the video, the only real difference between a Sata CC, and I say that because that's why I put a small little picture on the thumbnail, the Sata CC was available, or is available, I think it's still available, as a like a special edition. But it is purely a cap change and a tip change and a needle change. Once you've changed those three, if you've got a standard RP, a standard X5500 RP, then you will have a Sata CC, which is what I did really, because I don't need any more Satas. I've got enough, and I was waiting for a cap and tip set to come up on eBay. It was brand new, never been used, and I didn't want to pay the full money, because the list price for these tip sets are around about 250 GB pounds, which is about what, $320 US at the moment. So it's quite a lot of money. And those that watch the channel will know that I'm a little bit tight is probably the wrong word, but I'm a little bit critical of often of manufacturers, like for example Iwata, claiming that things are new and things are great when they're apart from styling, there really isn't huge gains, if any, in these new products. A lot of it is just marketing. So when I first heard about the Sata CC, I was quite skeptical, because I thought, well, this is going to be like a marketing exercise, because surely if you can make a gun produce a really flat finish, and 9 out of 10 people that talk to me and send me messages on Facebook or Instagram, etc., or on YouTube, most of them are after a flat finish. Now, I don't know whether that's because they genuinely want a flat finish, or whether they think if they get something that will give them a really flat finish, it will give them a chance of improving their own finish. I don't know, but that's one of the things people nearly always ask for. It sort of seems to be what everybody wants. Which, I can understand that. So when I first saw this, I was quite skeptical that, and I realised that the cap and the tip does the work basically, but I was quite skeptical about the marketing hype around it, and the way it was effectively marketed as this new super gun, effectively, when it's only a rework of the original. So I was quite skeptical about getting it, but I got the tip set at the right price. Also, another thing that you get with obviously having the channel now, which is slowly getting bigger, I get quite a lot of messages and things from people. They'll pick up certain things I said on the video, and I mentioned that I got a Sata CC set. And then you get some messages. You get some messages sometimes on, as I said, the other messaging platforms as well as YouTube. And you get some messages through. So I was picking up little snippets and hints of how to use this, because you do need to use this differently to a standard RP gun, the standard IRP or the ORP. I have both the I and the ORP setups. So you do need to use this a little bit differently. And I found the best way, and it's what, when I was coming into it, if I was coming into this cold, I think I would have been a little bit disappointed by the results, because I would have set about using it the same way as I set about using the RP. But as I say, I'd already been told that there's certain ways to use this. So how I used it was how I'd been told was the best way to use it. And I have since then seen no way to change that, because it actually works really well. So normally I would hold the RP in 1.2, something like that, for clear coat. I would hold it probably about 7 inches away from the work, so about 175mm away from the work. But I'd already been told it's best to hold it a bit closer to the work, normally about 5 inches, so about 125mm. So I started off holding it closer, and it's a similar thing to some of the other guns. The Decals with the T110 cap tends to work a bit better if you hold it a bit closer. It also has a similar effect in that with the smaller tips, you often get better atomization, which is what I was saying at the start of the video. I do wonder whether if I can pick up a 1.1 RPI or an O really, but an I ideally, tip set and cap, I wonder how much of a difference it would be then to the 1.3C setup. But as I say, you hold it, I've been holding it about 5 inches away, which was what was recommended to me, and it seems to be what really works as well. The other thing you need to do is remember that this thing is very, very slow. I've heard a lot of people say that they're good, but they're very, very slow. And indeed, that's what I would say, basically. It's a very good setup, but it is very slow. So if you like fast painting and you want an OEM finish, this isn't the gun for you at all. This is going to be much more for sort of custom specialists, people that want a really, really good finish. So, and as I say, you hold it move much slower than you would do with the RP. I'm only talking about 1.2 or 1.3 because that's all I've used. I would imagine you would have to go slow with a 1.1 RP, but I bet you would still move faster than with the CC setup. Another thing was pressure. A lot of people said that you need about 2.2 bar between, I'd been told 2.2 to 2.4 bar, which is about, what's that, about 35 psi to 38 psi, something like that. Yeah, probably not that high, is it? Well, yeah, no, it is. Yeah, about somewhere between 34 and 38 psi, something like that, which I thought was quite a lot. So I started off using it at 2 bar, and I must admit I've stayed at 2 bar because I see absolutely no point using it a higher pressure than that. So 2 bar or 29 psi is what I found works an absolute treat. So getting to the crux of the matter, is it actually does it give you a better finish than the standard IP? And the resounding answer is yes, it does. Without doubt, this thing isn't marketing hype. It actually works. It genuinely does what it says it's going to do. It's an absolutely cracking setup. Now, I know I go on a lot about the split tip iWatters being able to atomize very finely, but Sata obviously prove here that you really don't need a split tip if you get the rest of it right, because it produces a fantastic finish. I was left afterwards, after the first couple of times I'd used this, and as I just said, I had a background to it, so I knew how to go at it. It would have taken me a fair while, I think, probably 5-10 goes at using it to arrive where I arrived straight at the start. And that's only because snippets of information had been given to me by different people, so I knew basically where to go. But I ended up using it at 29 psi, so 2 bar, full fan and full fluid. And you'll see when we get to it, the clear coat going on. I took it nice and easy. Now the clear coat I used in this was a multi Mix2 clear coat. The temperature was actually quite cold. I think I've got it down here. Well, relatively cold. It's 12 degrees Celsius, which is, what's that, about 45, 46 Fahrenheit. So not freezing cold, but still quite cold to get a good clear coat finish, because normally you try and put the clear coat on as much as you can to get a nice run out, which gives you the smooth finish. So I had to put plenty of heat in it, as you see now. Now this tank you would have seen in a couple of different sessions, but this is the final session. This is how it actually finishes. And I put the Yamaha speed block decals on it, but I also put an Isle of Man TT for this year's TT. So you might see this bike. It's not a competition bike, it's someone's bike that's they've taken over there. So you might see this there anyway. If you do see it, then keep a look out for the paintwork, because the paintwork hasn't been touched. It's purely how it came off the gun. So the multi-mix clear is a reasonable quality clear, and it does flow out quite nicely. But one of the things, as I say, you'll notice when you get to the end, if you've managed to stick with me this long, is it genuinely does give a super flat finish. If you want to try it at 2.2 bar. I think about 4 different people said to me I found the best pressure is 2.2 bar, but as I say, I've been getting fantastic results at 2 bars, so 29 psi, so I see absolutely no reason to change. It does alright on material as well, but I think that's down to it just putting out less. I find that with the other guns like the Decals that you can use a smaller tip on, and you just seem to use less material. I think sometimes too much material comes out for the air cap, and because a lot of guns use the same air cap but change the tip, you know, they might have something different written on the air cap, but the actual air cap is the same. It's just had something different etched on it. I think it's sometimes just a bit too much for the tip. So if you reduce the tip size, I think that you often get, because you're getting less material coming out, then I think it tends to just give a flatter finish. It just gives finer atomization. And I know you can choke the gun back. You know, if you've got a bigger tip, you can cut the fluid back so that there's less fluid coming through. But I'm not sure why, but I always find that doesn't quite give as good a finish. It seems to work okay for base coat most of the time, and I often do that. But when it comes to clear coat, I do like to use it flat out normally with both the fan and with the fluid, because I just think it's more natural for the gun to work that way, and it tends to, I think, give you a better finish. But going back to this gun, as I say, it's not high. It really does genuinely work. And I know we're talking about a lot of money here. As I say, I had to think really hard about getting this tip set simply because of the price. But as I say, if you already got a Sata, it's probably not loads more money, considering that these things are quite expensive. But in my book, it is definitely worth it, as long as you modify your style with a gun and you're after that sort of finish. You know, if you're a custom painter, I don't think it's a particularly good production gun. I'm not into that sort of thing. My stuff is you know, purely one-off things normally. But if you're into a production setting, or you're in a busy workshop or paint shop, and you've got a lot of stuff coming through, then it probably wouldn't suit you, because it although it does give you a really good finish, it might save you a bit of work later on. Most of the time you just don't need that finish, and you'd much rather have the speed. But I know yellow's not the best colour, but we'll get some shots of it outside in a minute. But hopefully you can see how flat this laid the clear coat. I was genuinely impressed, and those that watch the channel will know that I am quite skeptical about these new things sometimes, and some things you get hold of and you think, no, that genuinely is good. Like the Porpish guns, I've recently got some what I would call the quality Chinese guns, and I've been pretty impressed with those, to be fair. So I just like, you know, I tell you how I find it really, and if I think it is really good, I'll just say it. And I certainly didn't waste my money when I bought this tip set. And even if I'd probably paid the full money for this tip set, I would probably be just as happy, because it really does do what it says it's going to do, which surprised me a bit. But as I say, I say eager. I'm keeping a lookout for a 1.1 RP tip set, because you don't normally see them, because it is not sort of something you would really want. But I'm not sure whether most of it's down to the cap, whether it's the tip and the cap combination that's doing it, or you know, what's actually the main sorry, the voice is going. The main reason for making this a much better gun, if you want a flat finish, than the RP. But yeah, hopefully here you can see it. I mean, it is literally like a piece of glass. This is a few days after, what have I got here? 3 days afterwards, this is. No polishing, just exactly as it come off the gun. And hopefully you're getting enough to be able to see just how nice a finish this is. As I say, yellow's not ideal. If this was black, it would be knocking your socks off, because it really is good, although I do say it myself. hopefully you're liking the decal. I'll get a video together where I've been doing a few decals lately with an airbrush, and we'll just go through basically what I've been doing, because I'm cutting my own decals out now. But if you do see this when you're out and about the Isle of Man, then you know, do well, let me know, see if you do see it. But yeah, all in all, definitely in my book worth the money. Although it's a horrendous price, it really does seem to do the trick. Just a quick word on the multi-mix. I remember a few people have said to me, you shouldn't add thinners to multi-mix, or the multi-mix 2 anyway. Well, especially multi-mix 1, I guess, because it's even thinner to start with. But I've been adding about 5%, and I found that it works absolutely fine with that. I haven't had any dieback or anything. I haven't had any shrinkage. So although they don't recommend it, I think a little bit really isn't a great problem. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed the video as always. And if you are enjoying them, maybe think about giving us a thumbs up, and maybe thinking about giving us a subscription, just to help bump us up the YouTube rankings. So yeah, all in all, I think a job well done. Nice Yamaha yellow, and if you do see it, maybe give the chap a thumbs up. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching as always, and you keep watching them and I'll keep making them. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.